Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to just dive right into this one and into the depths of pressure as we talk about, you guessed it, but before we do, all I want to say is please consider liking and subscribing, and also shout out to my friend James. He was the one that actually helped me a lot with getting this video done, and he also gets a little voice line in this video, so thank you once again to James, and go subscribe to him. And before you go, thank you so much guys for watching. Onwards with the video. Pressure is a game on Roblox that has become extremely popular because of its lore and mainly because it's like Doors, but has some more unique monsters and setting. And the story is real interesting. The year is 2025, and you are an inmate from a security prison who was serving their time before three Urban Shade contractors came into the prison to ask for draftees in their latest mission. The mission being to retrieve the crystal that they were unable to secure during a security breach. The ones who would get it would receive a pardon and a cash reward. You and many others signed up, but not before being told of the most important thing of all. You are expendable and are not expected to return. But who exactly are our mysterious contractors? Urban Shade seems to be like an SCP equivalent in this world, where they secure, contain, and protect monsters in several facilities to study and document, with many of these monsters coming from all around the world, from the Divine in the Amazons to some where the blacksite is currently in, with the Anglers being one of them. Their competitors are also other Roblox labs and corporations such as Innovation Inc. Anyway, one of the biggest discoveries that Urban Shade made was the discovery of the Let Van Zone, a zone west of Norway, where the pressure of this particular zone isn't actually lethal. Instead, the pressure is similar to a swimming pool, which is different from the standard pressure of the ocean. With this, the company got to work on the blacksite in 1962 and finished the site we explore, known as the Hadal blacksite, in 1974, where they begin their SCP equivalent of what we just talked about. Though this took money to secure and contain these monsters, Urban Shade was able to maximize shareholder profit by using trench bleeders in the Let Van Zone, allowing them to mine resources and material that they could sell later on. Another thing Urban Shade began to do is also bring in a lot of D-class subjects to experiment on, with the human subjects being from prisons and the non-human ones being from whatever corners of the worlds they got them from. Infestation is a good example, being a shark that was put into a program to test out telepathic elimination, subjecting it to whatever they could do to achieve this, making the monster we know now. Good People is another example, with them being a mass of Urban Shade employees. There's some monsters like this, but the big one that is important for our story is Mr. Lope. I'm just kidding, it's Sebastian Salas. Sebastian Salas, otherwise known as a saboteur, was brought into the blacksite in 2013 after being found guilty of game-ending 9 people. During his time in Urban Shade, he was experimented on. They gave him gills, strands of DNA from an anglerfish, a sea snake, and a blue whale, and maybe whatever else they could find in the water, making him the quote-unquote monster we see him as in the events of the game. It's also here where Sebastian does a little trolling and causes the event of pressure, as he is the reason for the site-wide lockdown and all the monsters being released. The site-wide lockdown causes Urban Shade to quickly scramble whatever personnel and directors they found to quickly escape the black site and abandon it. The reaction was quick, as soldiers were sent down in an attempt to get the crystal that powers the whole black site. However, they couldn't reach the crystal without losing a lot of people, leading to what becomes the expendable protocol. And in 6 hours of the protocol being initiated, the first batch of expendables arrive. You signed up to be an expendable and retrieved the crystal for the chance of receiving a pardon from Urban Shade and a big lump of cash. Many others did too, but just remember, you are expendable and are not expected to return. This starts off our first time in the game, and in lore is the first thing we hear or see from the people of Urban Shade. We are sent on a death mission to get the crystal, being sent on a one-wave submarine into the Hadal black site to retrieve it. Urban Shade also wants us to collect any USBs or files we might be able to get, as they had to leave them in the site due to, monsters. Alternatively, these can also be sold to Sebastian, which after his trolling decided to join someone, who he refers to as he, on a yet unknown mission. Anyway, in your time in the Hadal black site, you will more than likely die, and similar to Doors, when you receive a message from the guiding light, here Sebastian will take you here, quote unquote, and will inform you on the monster that has ended your run. Regardless, despite our deaths, we seem to be able to pay death to bring us back, and coming back, we continue our dangerous trek through the facility. As we advance in the facility, we eventually reach rooms that have generators that are in need of repair. Repairing these will be important, as we must repair generators in a big space wherein we see strange searchlights that once it spots someone, will hook it and eat it. Here, we are put in a game of constantly checking the monster's position and also repairing generators. If we manage to do it, or we bribe the ferryman to come back from death, we are able to continue our run. Another encounter that we are destined to get is with something that looks like an anglerfish, but seems to have eyes in its mouth. A monster so quick and so perceptive, hiding is almost impossible from. Pandemonium is its name, and it will attempt to crush us and consume us, with the only way of evading it being hiding in vents or in closets or in lockers, wherein it will violently shake and smash the locker we are in, forcing us to keep a circle in the middle of our screen, battling with it for 40 hellish seconds. However, should you succeed in these challenges, as well as those such as the anglers and wall dwellers and more, we will finally reach the control room. The control room is where our objective lies. Here, we find the crystal safe and secure in the center of the room. And we are notified that by taking the crystal, the facility will go, as the experts say, kaput. And we will need to advance into the ridge to attempt to get another sub to pick us up. Here the monsters will become more hostile, relying mainly on sound cues. Music will also begin to play, leading to your unfortunate demise should you be in the zone of the music for too long. However, should you make it to the end of the ridge, another issue presents itself. It turns out that there are electrical cables that are in need of repair that power the external repellent cannons outside, which exists to provide safe passage for vessels to reach the ridge's airlocks, where you currently are. Going outside and following the flares, we find the cables we need to repair. However, we also find out that we're not alone. The searchlights are back, and so are some pesky bloodsuckers to boot. Here, you will be defending yourself against the searchlights while shaking away any ocean critters who want to take a little nibble of your body. Little by little, as you start advancing, more searchlights will come, but they do not deter you and your desire to survive. As you repair each cable, you finally are able to get the repellent system operational, and it fires out a beam, ensuring that the sub that was meant to pick you up can now do so. Yet, you now have to return from where you came, with the searchlight still on you. They begin to search in the tunnel, where an abandoned submarine lies. You have to be patient to ensure that they won't grab you, but making it out, you see one last searchlight in the distance, only for it to be crushed by a trench bleeder called Lucy. Coming back to the airlock, the person instructing you will tell you to head over to the dock where a submarine will come and pick you up. However, it is noted that he does first apologize for Lucy suddenly moving toward you, as it was not giving any input commands to do so. Which is really weird, but I'm sure it's nothing. Anyway, we head to the dock, and as expected, there is indeed a sub waiting for you. It gets out, and there's a following text that follows. The moment you arrive at the dock, a heavily armed guardsman forcibly takes the crystal container from you and brings it over to an old, decrepit, and disgusting-looking man in a wheelchair with tank treads instead of wheels. He then opens the container to show it to the man. You don't quite hear what he says to the guard as the other guards are leading you into a locker room to get you a new change of clothing. After putting on some civilian attire, you are escorted to a military vehicle. You are put into the back seat with a fellow guardsman, as another guardsman gets into the driver's seat. After 12 minutes after leaving, the guardsman next to you gets a notification on his phone, takes it out, and starts reading something from it. Mr. Shade would like to thank you personally. Can someone find a record for the prisoner's name? For your valiant effort in completing your task unscathed. Your criminal record has been purged, and the money has been deposited into your bank account under the guise of reprimand for false imprisonment. A fake news story will be published shortly to clear your image in whichever community you originated from. He then puts his phone away and says nothing for the remainder of the drive. After a few hours, the car arrives at Vargar Airport. The guardsman next to you begrudgingly hands his phone to you and says, "Plane tickets are on here. The password is blank." As you are about to exit through the passenger door, the driver clears his throat and says, "Don't bother telling anyone about what you saw. No one is going to believe you anyway." The story ends there, as you are pardoned and now free. The story is pretty clear cut, but there is a couple of stuff that I noticed that makes for some good speculation, at least regarding the secret that the Hadal blacksite has. So let's talk about them. Number 1, the underworld. Something that is apparent from the first time you actually die in this game is that Sebastian will comment that every time you die, you will be brought, quote, here, to discuss what exactly killed you and will disclose information on what did so long as he allows it. What's a little odd though is where here is, as death in this game seems to be able to be avoided, which makes me wonder why. We currently have little information as to how death works, as we know that upon dying you can either be brought back or restart, to which encountering Sebastian again will lead to him commenting on seeing you again, which is a bit odd considering that you'd think that this would be his first time seeing you. Now, I have seen a couple videos, and I know that Noel in specific does make him theorize that perhaps there's some form of time loop or time travel being involved, which leads Sebastian to say something about commenting on your revival. But I think death in this world serves to be more of a pocket dimension than anything. Let me just explain a little. The room where you talk about your death with Sebastian can be accessed in the menu of the game before it even begins, but another point hints at it being more of a dimension outside time itself, as when gathering documents, some might actually include an animation of you opening it before it being quickly snatched by Sebastian. Sebastian himself isn't present at all, but it can be assumed that he is using something to grab it from you, implying that whatever here is possibly a traversable dimension that Sebastian was given access to in exchange for gathering information. And it likely would be similar to something like the Mindscape, which is mentioned in the game, and very similarly, we don't know much about. The second theory will be brought to you by guest star James.
Kind of continuing on this is the question of Sebastian comments as he. It is mentioned only on the first time you die, but it's still interesting who he is. Whoever it is seems to have made a deal with Sebastian, but also gave Sebastian tasks, the most notable of which is having to supply the player as he comes down the submarine, something he hates doing. This implies that whoever he is seems to have some form of power over the facility, and also some interest in the files and USB drives or Urban Shade. It's a bit weird to think about who, but given that we have very little names of other corporations or people, I think it would be interesting to speculate on who exactly Sebastian is working for. And, to throw my hat in the ring with the theory I'm going to say, Mr. Lopi. I think it makes sense considering when you die to Mr. Lopi, he won't show you his document, and Mr. Lopi will be standing right behind him, signaling that whoever he is, Sebastian does not want to mess with him. Because of this, they could actually be working together, and given the fact that Mr. Lopi has access to the facility and also access to the strange place where Sebastian is upon dying, it could be assumed that he is the he Sebastian is currently working with, kind of being like some sort of G-Man, which would definitely fit his role as the Umbrella Man inspiration from the Interlooper.
Thank you, James, for helping me out. And go subscribe to him if you haven't already. But let's get back to what we were talking about. There's some other theories like this, like especially items in containment, such as blacked out items that can be found, as well as the crucifix that comes out from doors. There's also Easter eggs relating to other games like Doors, like I mentioned, the crucifix. Also the squiddies or the squid monsters can sometimes have faces that are related to Doors, as well as certain documents that relate to identity fraud and other games in general. For now, though, these two theories were honestly the most interesting, and I wanted to go in depth for these as they relate to what can be immediately seen or heard relating to the story other than the Easter eggs. But with that, the pressure is off my chest, and that is all for this video. This has been Pressure, the Story Explained. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.